Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a what's for dessert to share with y'all. I don't share these very often because I just don't typically make dessert a lot. But over the last month and a half-ish, I made 3 super good desserts. All of them were so delicious and I can't wait to share them with y'all today. First up, we have these easy s'mores brownies. So I'm starting off my food processor and I am putting in about 15 full-size graham crackers, and I'm just gonna pulse those until you've got like a nice finely crushed graham cracker mix. And you could just do this by hand if you don't have a food processor, but it's definitely way easier with a food processor. So once I've got them like a nice fine powder, then I added in half of a cup of sugar and 6 tablespoons of melted butter, and then I pulsed that again until everything was like evenly mixed throughout, like the butter coated all of the graham cracker. Then I took some parchment paper and lined a 9 by 13 inch dish. A trick that I have learned over the years is to crumble up your parchment paper, and then it like takes the shape of the dish that you're putting it in a lot easier. So that's what I did. And then I'm going to take that graham cracker mixture and just spread it evenly over the bottom of this pan, all the way to the edges, all the way into the corners, and just like push it down so it's like nice and packed down. Next, you're going to take whatever brownie mix you prefer. I'm using this specially selected double chocolate premium brownie mix from Aldi, and you're just going to mix that together according to the package directions. So add your egg, your water, your oil, whatever it says, get that all mixed together. Then I spread that brownie mixture evenly over top of the graham cracker crust that we made, and spread that out just all the way to the edges as evenly as I could. And then this went in a preheated oven at 350 for 24 minutes until the center of it is just set. Then I topped this with a whole bag of miniature marshmallows and probably about 1/4 cup of some chocolate chips. So these are actually some like chocolate chunks. And then I put this back in the oven under the broiler for 3 to 5 minutes. You just want to keep a close eye on it and get those marshmallows nice and browned. I let this set for about 10 minutes once it came out of the oven, and then because we lined our pan with parchment paper, it was super easy to lift out and then slice it into squares for serving. This is best served immediately, but it's super good the next day too. We didn't even heat it up, just ate it like room temperature, and it was still really good. I actually took this to one of my family members' house for like a pool day, and everybody absolutely loved it. It is very sweet, so you only want like a little bit of it. I think if I made it in the future, I wouldn't add so much sugar to the graham cracker crust. Like I think if I cut that in half, it would be a little bit better. But it was very, very good. This next recipe is called Churro cheesecake bars, and this is probably my favorite recipe out of the 3 that I am sharing with you today. Starting off by beating 1 8-ounce package of softened cream cheese until it was smooth. And then I'm adding in 1/4 cup of sugar, 1 egg, and half a teaspoon of vanilla. Now I am actually having the original recipe. The original recipe makes a 9 by 13 inch pan, but my family just doesn't eat like dessert like that, and I just didn't want a whole pan of this. So I just made half of the recipe, but the full recipe will be linked down below for y'all. So I just mixed that together until it was smooth and creamy, and then I set that to the side. And then I am taking some crescent rolls here. I'm just using one 8-ounce package, and I want to basically have like 2 squares. I should have rolled these out more so they were more square shaped to fit my pan, but I just pinched them together so I had 2 pieces, one for my bottom and one for my top. And then I've got an 8x8 dish here, and I'm sprinkling in a bunch of cinnamon and sugar, and then I'm putting in half of that crescent dough, and then I put in my cream cheese mixture, and then I topped it with the other half of the crescent dough, and then sprinkled with a ton more of the cinnamon and sugar. And then this went in the oven at 350 for 30 minutes. So I was actually unsure if this recipe was going to even turn out, because the original recipe called for 1 egg, and you can't exactly split 1 egg in half. So I just went with still using 1 egg, even though I had halved like the cream cheese and everything. And I was really not sure if it was going to turn out, but it turned out great. The only thing that I would change is definitely like roll out my crescent dough a little bit more, or even use like a crescent dough sheet, so you don't have to pinch it together, just so that the crescent dough goes all the way to the edges of the pan. But it was still so delicious. I love cheesecake, but like the top and the bottom, like crescent dough, was crunchy like a churro, like the cinnamon and sugar. Definitely great served like immediately, but it was still good the next day. It just wasn't crunchy anymore. And the last recipe that I have for you today is this homemade cinnamon roll cake. This is so good. And again, I have this recipe, so I only made it in an 8x8 pan. You can find the full recipe linked down below in the description box. So I am taking my 8x8 pan and spreading some cake goop on it. The recipe for that will be linked down below too. It's like oil and shortening and flour, if I remember correctly. I make a big jar of it and then use it over and over until I'm out of it. Anytime I make cake, I use that. So I got that all over my pan, and I preheated my oven to 350. Then in the bowl of my stand mixer, I combined 1.5 cups of flour, 1/2 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 egg, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 3/4 cup of milk. And I started mixing that on a low speed, and then I slowly added in 1/2 cup of melted butter, and I just mixed that until everything was combined. You don't want to over mix it, but just make sure everything is incorporated. Scrape the sides of the bowl, all that. Then I spread my cake mixture evenly in the bottom of that greased pan and set that to the side. Now in a small bowl, I'm going to mix together 1/4 cup of softened butter, 1/2 cup of packed light brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of flour, and about 1/2 tablespoon of ground cinnamon. And I tried to do this with a spoon at first, but a fork works much better. You just want to like mash that all together till it's nice and combined. And then I am going to like drop little tiny spoonfuls of this all over the top of the cake. Then I took a butter knife and just kind of ran that through the cake, kind of spreading that cinnamon mixture throughout to create like a swirled or like marbled effect. And then this went in the oven on 350 degrees for 35 minutes. Once the cake came out of the oven, I let it cool slightly, and then I made this little glaze to go on top. It's just a simple powdered sugar glaze. So I did a cup of powdered sugar and then about 2.5 tablespoons of milk. I just add a little bit of it at a time till I get it to the consistency that I want, and half a teaspoon of vanilla, and just mix that together really well. And then just pour that over your cake and it's ready to eat. This is really good warm. It's also good just room temperature. And if you got leftovers, you can just reheat it in the microwave if you want it warm again. It's very good. It's better than like a packaged cinnamon roll. I feel like this would be really good like in the morning with like a cup of coffee. It's almost like a coffee cake. It's very, very good. But that is going to do it for this What's for Dessert video. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. You'll probably see another one from me in the next couple of months. I feel like I tend to make desserts more in the fall and winter because those are the flavors that we prefer, like cinnamon-y stuff and just, holiday baking. So make sure you subscribe down below if you haven't already so you can see those when I put those out. And if you plan on trying any of these recipes, let me know which ones in the comments down below. I hope you have a good week, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!